It's an American conspiracy story. This is an American conspiracy story? How the hell is that? I thought this was the story of a guy who killed his wife, killed his daughter, and then killed himself. All of a sudden, it's a conspiracy? No. The problem is they're not open to it being a conspiracy. They're so quick to discount a conspiracy as if it's a cuss word, as if it's something that could never happen, as if it's something we shouldn't even talk about, something we should not think about, when a rational person would think about it. Okay?
Hello, welcome to Salon Talks. I'm Tom Roston, and I'm here with Erik Nelson,
Tom Roston.
the director of The Gray State, which is opening on Friday in New York and then coming out in theaters in LA. And I gotta say, this is a film that's going to rock a lot of people's world. It's a murder mystery, so it's intriguing. It's a character study, and it's also an incredible expose of the alt-right and the whole conspiracy theory movement. So it's a lot of things.
Really? The alt-right and the conspiracy movement. Interesting. Okay. The conspiracy has only grown so much about this case because nobody else can prove anything different. No one can sit here and say that David Crowley is guilty. So the conspiracy, I don't even know if you would call it a conspiracy. It's just, well, other theories. Because saying he's guilty is just one theory of many theories out there that people are dabbling with, that people are looking into. That doesn't mean that they necessarily have their view fixed, that it must be this conspiracy, it must be that conspiracy. It could have been by one person. It could have been one person that came in there and killed all of them. I don't believe that would be a conspiracy. But something like that, on the other hand, would have to involve the police at some level. So it always goes back to them. That's why I'm not interested in developing any conspiracy theories, because we don't need to look for them. Because if that is the truth, that will come out and we will see it. And I think the problem that a lot of the people who believe the official story, the problem that they're having, is that maybe they're starting to realize we can't prove this theory, it's just a theory. Oh, it's my favorite part here. The nice shot of the house, drone shot of the house. What occurred inside the walls remains a mystery. This trailer is terrible.
Just kind of gets on you and you just can't wash it off. Credibility means nothing to me. What I care about is truth.
I don't think you're missing anything.
Of course we're missing something.
Why?
Yeah, why? I don't think you're missing anything, Mason Hendricks says in the trailer. The only thing you're missing is why. Well, that's a big damn deal. The other thing that we're missing is what, is if. The other thing that we're missing is where is the proof. You can't just gloss over those things forever. You can keep lying to yourself and keep glossing over it and keep moving on from it and acting like you've dealt with it and everything, but until you deal with the fact that there's no evidence, where's the evidence to prove that David Crowley's guilty? Of course you're never going to get to the why, because you can't even get to the if. It's ridiculous. It really is, to me. Just my view. So, I don't need to worry about my credibility. I don't need to worry about any of that, because the truth is all that I'm worried about. And making sure that I stick to it. And making sure that I don't, try to spread false things. And making sure that I don't say, hey, the government killed him, or this happened, or hey, I know what happened. I don't know what happened. The problem is I'm not claiming to know what happened. The bigger problem is the people that claim to know what happened don't know much more than me. And yet they're coming to that conclusion. And I wonder if they're doing it more based on emotions than they are based on facts, based on truth. That's what I'm getting here. Is they're not coming to a rational conclusion. They're coming to a fictional opinion.
So that was A Gray State, and yes, it's ominous, it's dark, and it's fascinating. This guy, David Crowley, what an amazing person. He comes across as so intelligent and so thoughtful, and yet he goes down this awful path.
See, they keep saying he goes down this awful path. What is the awful path that he's going down? The guy was making a movie about the government taking over, about martial law. Many people have made those movies. They're not going out there and killing their family. I mean, come on, Alex Jones talks about this all the time. How come he hasn't gone crazy and killed anybody? It's just ridiculous.
Can you talk about, first off, how did you get access to this material? I mean, this incredible material.
I read a squib on the story, and it intrigued me, and the film he was making, his work intrigued me. And a year later, and then started speaking with the family about, in essence, doing an investigation about what happened, trying to use this material, which the police...
All right, so he's saying 1 year later, he approached the family about doing an investigation. And this film is an investigation. If this film is an investigation, then it would cover the police reports, and it would cover the crime scene photos, it would cover what the police did, what they didn't do, how quickly they did it. It would cover all those. This is not an investigation. To me, this does not look like an investigation.
Never went into. They were convinced, to them, as did he do it or not. Once they convinced themselves that he did it, they didn't really go any deeper into the why. They wanted to know the who. And this film is all about the why. We don't dwell into the who.
This film is not about the why. Mason Hendricks in the trailer said the only question is why. And here you have Erik Nelson telling this interviewer that this film is all about the why. So more contradicting statements that we have here. Is it about the why, or is it not about the why? Because if it is about the why, I think it's going to fail, because it doesn't cover that. It doesn't cover what. It doesn't cover if. It doesn't cover how. It doesn't cover the basics. So what the hell does it cover? What could it possibly cover? What could it possibly... Why would I waste 93 minutes of my time watching this movie then, if it doesn't cover any of those things? Why should you waste your time? I was in the damn thing. Now, I was gonna, Dan Hennon and I were going to record a show that day anyway, and the time worked out. It was perfect. They wanted to do, they wanted to interview Dan at his house, interview me at my house. And then they wanted to record us doing our regular show, our Google Hangouts / YouTube show. And that was cool. That was fun. And we didn't care about our credibility then. I didn't care if they thought that I was a credible person, or if they were going to make me sound like some type of fool. I felt this was a good opportunity for people to just see my side of it, and to just see how I felt about it. And I don't, from what I'm hearing, I don't believe that this movie covers that. I don't believe that it covers my side of it. I believe it just kind of glosses over that and just kind of moves on. The way that a lot of people just move on. And they're not even moving on to the why, even though we have Erik Nelson here clearly stating that this movie is supposed to cover the why, and it doesn't. So it's a lie.
As you went along, getting deeper into the material, tell me about your relationship with your subject, David Crowley.
Well, it was all obviously through unbelievably intimate encounters with this dowry of footage he left behind. 23 terabytes of footage, which is a massive amount of material. 13,000
23 terabytes of footage?
Selfies.
Sorry, 23 terabytes of footage, and you still didn't have enough to show that David Crowley was guilty, or why? The police didn't have it, the family didn't have it, yet they're all just accepting it? Come on. Please.
The idea, I mean, I presented him as being this very intelligent person. Can you walk us through your understanding of how someone who's seemingly so intelligent can snap and commit these murders?
Well,
of his own daughter.
Hyper-intelligence and madness are often linked, for starters.
Hyper-intelligence and madness are often linked. Okay. So his intelligence, I mean, an intelligent person would not kill anybody else. An intelligent person would not kill themselves. So I would assume that a hyper-intelligent person, those thoughts they would not enter their mind. They would enter their mind less than an intelligent person. I'm not buying any of this. I think he's stammering.
Just because he's very smart doesn't mean he might not have been either already crazy or something.
I mean, it's basically, it sounds like Erik Nelson is saying that because this guy was so smart, that the smarter you are, the more likely you're going to be driven into madness. If that's true, then I'm staying away from intelligent people and hyper-intelligent people too, because I don't need that in my life.
Going crazy, so they're not mutually exclusive. So, and hyper-intelligent people aren't necessarily morally superior.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, exactly. David Crowley is not Ted Bundy, and it wasn't safe to say, quote, though his act was by all possible definition of evil, he wasn't that. There was a method to his madness, which we tried to lay out in the film, again in his own words and observations of people who knew and watched his descent.
This greater world of the alt-right and conspiracy theorists.
Here we go. Alt-right conspiracy theories.
We were talking earlier, and you had indicated to me that this guy was not necessarily a right-wing.
No, he was not an alt-right. I mean, alt-right, when you think alt-right, you conjure Pepe the Frog and Charlottesville, racist Nazis, basically.
So we're back to the alt-right thing, and I'm glad that Erik Nelson is, given a better chance to articulate his view that this really has nothing to do with the alt-right. And I think that's a huge, huge point. So I don't know where this alt-right stuff started from. I don't know why certain people in the media keep pushing this alt-right thing. They're like desperately trying to connect David Crowley to Alex Jones and to Donald Trump. And I don't know if that's more of just for clickbait, more of a media thing, or what it is to try to make the story relevant. They always try to tie David Crowley into something that's happening now, almost like their superiors are like, well, why should you write a story about David Crowley? Well, it has to do with now. It's still tied into things that are happening now. Maybe something like that. I don't know. But I find that very, very strange. So I'm really glad that Erik Nelson is making his view clear here about the alt-right. I think that's really good. I'm very happy about that.
That was not David Crowley. That was not David Crowley's friends. They were libertarians. They subscribed more to the New World Order conspiracies. Some of the Alex Jones globalists are taking over the world, Bilderberg, that thing, which is not alt-right. That's a different. There's overlap, as in any fringes, but David Crowley was not, quote, an alt-right guy. He married and was sincere in his affection for a Muslim woman. He had issues with Islam, but it didn't prevent him from engaging with his wife and his wife's family.
I think that's an interesting point where Erik Nelson says he had issues with Islam, but still married a Muslim woman and was still well-liked, as far as we know, was still well-liked and was respectful, for the most part, towards the Muslim family. So, I know that's one of the other theories, is that this was a Muslim hit, and this was this type of hit, and that type of hit, but I don't even think we need to really go there. I really don't. I don't think we're at that point yet, because police still have not proven their theory, and they can't. So I think we're still there, and I think the story is gonna, any credibility towards David is guilty kind of dies right there. It stops right there, because it's like, okay, David Crowley is guilty, alright, based on ABCDEF, and then it just, whoa, wait a minute, that's it? That's all there is to say that David Crowley is guilty? Oh no, there's got to be more than that. So people dig and dig and dig. I think this movie might attract those people who are still digging and digging to see what happened, because it's finally another view, another person who is asking those same questions here. Hopefully Nelson is more keen on asking those questions than on trying to answer those questions. It sounds like he is acknowledging, highlighting those questions, but he's not highlighting the overall question of where's the proof that David Crowley is guilty. If this movie does not cover that, I know I've said it a million times, but if the movie does not cover that, I think it fails.
Again, at this point in America, the definitions, yes, the right, I mean, you know, the far right and the left, when it collides in extreme libertarianism, that we should be allowed to grow our pot plants without it. You know, there's so many mergings now. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be coy. I just think we should be, you know, ambiguity is at the heart of this story, and it's the heart of David Crowley's politics. And it's so easy to dismiss it by saying, oh, he was outright, oh, he had PTSD, that explains everything. Next. Right. This film does not do that.
I think that's a great point, and I agree with Erik Nelson on that. I'm glad that he brought that up. It kind of sounds like he's kind of saying the same thing in a much more articulate way than I could ever say it. Pretty much saying the same thing, that, you know what, all these labels are starting to merge, everything's starting to blur, lines are blurring, and then it's like, should we even, you know, include that in there, or are talking about labels like conspiracy theorists, alt-right, and all this stuff? Is that just a distraction from what the case really is? And if we can stay focused and kind of push those labels and all that stuff to the side, maybe we can actually see what happened here, or at least get as close to the truth as possible.
There's no easy way out on this one. That anyone's guess is as good as mine. Hell, the conspiracists could be right. You know, a ninja hit squad.
They'd love to hear that.
Yeah, well, a ninja hit squad stopped him before he could go, and everyone is, including yours truly, are in on the conspiracy to deliberately disseminate false information with a point. It's all been fabricated. You know, okay.
Okay, the ninja hitman theory. I think he brought up something similar talking about September 11th, where, you know, and it's like going to the far extreme of saying, I mean, I don't know if there are any ninjas living in Minnesota or even here. Maybe there are. I have no idea. But it's just like the ninja conspiracy. I mean, it's not even worth mentioning as far as I'm concerned. The only reason Erik Nelson would mention it is to just further discredit any possible credible conspiracy theory.
My answer would be a line that you actually have in the trailer, which is that this guy who says that he doesn't believe in credibility, he just believes in truth. Mm-hmm. This idea that there are a lot of people out there, perhaps even David Crowley, who have this worldview that, you know, I guess this is a judgmental phrase, but it's paranoid, and they're suspicious. They're very suspicious.
It is a very judgmental phrase to say paranoid and suspicious. No, it's called searching. It's called looking at the truth, looking for the truth, not looking for my version of the truth, not looking for a credible this, a credible that, looking for the truth. Black and white, pure and simple.
Suspicious of the world around them. They do not trust the media or anyone around them.
Let me tell you who I do trust. Is I trust Jesus Christ, and I trust that as long as I stay truthful to Him and I trust in Him, He's going to lead me to where I should go. And where He leads, I will follow. And He's followed me. I followed Him here, down this trail, for whatever reason. I believe that I'm, you know, an impartial observer at some point, at some level, because I don't have any stake in this. I don't have any stake in the franchise of the gray state. You know, I don't need to make money off of conspiracy theories or YouTube hits or videos or anything like that, like the Gray State team does. I don't need that. I have a job, okay? This is just taking away my time, and that's my choice. But it's not about being paranoid. It's not about anything like that. man, we're just trying to see what the truth is here. And the more that it's like the truth is not so simple, the more we keep digging. And we keep digging until we get there. And we will get there. So that's all that my trust is in. I don't need to trust the media. I don't even need to see the media as credible to read what they write and to examine it and to say, okay, I like this. Yes, I agree with that. I disagree with this. That's a great point. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. These people are not always credible themselves, but I give them the benefit of the doubt. Tom Roston, man, I give you the benefit of the doubt that you have not done the research that I have done on this. And I would challenge you to do that research, to have me on your show, to debate me, to discuss this with me, and I guarantee you, you're probably going to hear things that you haven't heard. Maybe it will entice you to actually look into some of these things that we're talking about, instead of just continually bashing us and just continually trying to make us, just trying to just write us off like we're just conspiracy people who are paranoid and mistrusting of everything. We don't believe anything. That's not true. It's not true at all.
And they have gone to different sources, alternative sources for their information.
No. We haven't gone to alternative sources for information. At least speaking for myself, I haven't gone to alternative sources for information. I've looked at every source. I've looked at what everybody is saying. That's the difference. I don't discount the conspiracy theories. I don't necessarily believe them or agree with them, but I don't discount them until I've looked into it, okay? Until I've really thought about it and said, okay, what evidence is there of a government hit? Zero. For me, it's zero. That's it. I don't see any evidence right now of a government hit. At the same time, I don't see any evidence of David Crowley being guilty. That's where I stand, okay? Everything in between that is all open to interpretation, and we're just looking at it. We're just gathering facts, gathering data to see where that data leads. I wish more people would do that. I wish Tom Roston would do that. I was hoping Erik Nelson would do that. I was hoping a lot of people would do that. But those are false hopes.
Like that guy, he believes in truth, right? I mean, to me, it reminds me a lot of the 9/11 truthers.
Well, it's the same. Trauma begats, theories. I've done films on the Pearl Harbor, Kennedy assassination. The truth, there's traumatic events. People look for logical explanations for sometimes the inexplicable, and sometimes they're right. Mm-hmm. You can't dismiss all conspiracy people out of hand. Right. But at Burroughs' line, William Burroughs, the paranoid's the guy who really knows what's going on. Right. So, one can't dismiss out of hand, but one has to filter it. And when you reject information or form a conclusion, then one are not at all open to,
that's a good point.
It becomes a different thing. But
yeah, and I think that's the whole thing, is the way that they're portraying me is that I have rejected it, that I am not open to the possibility that David Crowley is guilty, when I've said from day one that I am. So that to me is part of a smear campaign to discredit me, to discredit what I'm saying, because they're not giving you the whole truth of what I'm saying. They're giving you one line, two different lines, and that's it. When they don't talk about the fact that I was never a fan. They don't talk about the people that weren't fans of this film that are still investigating it. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about the people who have not formed a conclusion like myself. It's always this conclusion or that one. That's it. But it's like there's no in-between with these people. To me, that is a relevant story. That's a big story that any news media outlet should be covering when they're covering this story. Because to me, that is the real story, is the questions. Because they don't have answers. The answers should be what the story is, but without the answers, all you're left with are questions. Now, if you want to discount those questions, then you do a smear campaign, you attack somebody, you make them look like something that they are not, instead of being truthful. You go after their credibility. You go after all of these different things, calling them different names, a conspiracy theorist or whatever, instead of really just looking at, well, this is what this person says, okay? It's an interesting view because, you know, they weren't a fan of this. They, you know, do not believe everything is a conspiracy, and yet even they can see that there's something wrong here. That's a story I would have told, but it's not my story.
I've learned it's like a religion. You don't argue, you don't debate people's religion or the tenets of religion with people. You're never going to win. And, you know, in this case, the conspiracists have a platform. There's many 30, 40 hours of YouTube conversations and web pages devoted to it, where they're picking through all the deal. They have their outlet, they have their platform, and if people watch my film and want to find out what they're up to and want to go there and, you know, dig deep into that, all power to them. I don't have any problems with that.
And they're currently responding to your film. I don't know if they've seen it, but
no, they haven't.
They haven't seen it, but I mean, you can find on Facebook and other places where they are condemning the film and condemning you.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, we're not condemning the film or condemning him. We're looking at this objectively and really just saying, wait a minute, you guys aren't talking about this. This film doesn't cover that. People who have seen it have shared things with us. That, you know, just leads us to just more questions. But we're not condemning him. We're not attacking him. This isn't about Erik Nelson. This isn't about making him a victim. So we don't want to do what certain people do, make other people into a victim. We're just looking at this as objectively as possible. I don't think Erik Nelson is doing that because he is discounting conspiracy theories. He's discounting a lot of that.
It truly is a film of our time, and I recommend everyone check it out. New York this weekend, coming to LA, and it'll be also available on streaming services soon. I guess
it'll get out there.
It'll get out there. The truth is out there.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot for coming, Erik.
Thank you.
The truth is out there. What a way to end it. Yeah, the truth is out there. Well, gee, where'd you get that from? X-Files? Yeah, the truth is out there. Unfortunately, the truth is not going to be seen in this movie, from what I can gather, just based on my view, by someone who has not seen it. Now, the interesting thing will be, if I am honest, if I am truthful, forget about my credibility, because I don't have any. But if I am honest and if I am truthful, once I see this movie, if it changes my view, I have to be open to that. I have to be willing to say, you know what, I believe this up until I saw this movie. How is this movie going to change my views on everything that I've been researching when it hasn't even covered or talked about all of the stuff that I've been researching? Maybe it has. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it has. I don't believe that. I don't believe that this movie is going to cover a lot of what I've been researching and a lot of what I plan to do in the future with the Gray Stage. Because that's what I see. This is a stage. This is a play. It is fiction. I think that what we're seeing, a lot of what we're seeing, a lot of what we're being told, a lot of the official story is pure fiction. Pure imagination. Pure imagination. And that's sad. Now, again, after I see this movie, maybe that view will change. Maybe I'll realize, like, 2 people have told me, once I see this movie, it's going to change my view, and, you know, I have to be open to that. I really have to be open to that possibility. And so I am open to it. I'm open to saying, you know what, yes, okay, finally, I have what I'm looking for. From the beginning, I did not begin looking into this as a citizen investigator. I don't even like that term. As a citizen investigator, I didn't begin looking into this thinking David Crowley was innocent. I began looking into this thinking David Crowley was guilty. That's my fault. That's my own bias. Okay? That's where I still struggle with that bias because of how I began this. I began the same thing with Philip Marshall. I began the same thing with September 11th. I began the same thing with John F. Kennedy. And the more research that I did, the more questions I had, and the less that I believed in the official story. That's what happened here. The more research that I did on David Crowley and his death, the less that I believed what the police were telling me was true. Plain and simple.